So right now, as I'm filming this, it's 12 o'clock. I have not eaten today, but what I do have is a bowl of candy and a pumpkin spice candle. And hopefully that will get me through this. Let's do this. Hey guys, it's Ashley, and today we're going to be talking about my end of the year TBR, the books I want to read before the end of the year, the books I'm gonna read in fall and winter, what I'm reading this month, whatever you want to call it, that's what we're talking about today. When I was creating the list and the pile of books for this video that I want to read, I was getting really excited, so that's a good sign. I'm gonna keep this momentum going. But before we get into the video, I want to talk about today's video sponsor, Book of the Month. So I've worked with Book of the Month before. If you've been with me and my channel, you probably will have seen a video where I've worked with them. I do love working with them, so thank you so much for sponsoring this video. If you didn't already know, Book of the Month is a super popular and fast-growing online book service for readers. They work to promote new and emerging authors and to help readers find new books that they love. Each month, their team vets hundreds of books to give a curated selection of new and early release titles to their readers so that you can spend more time reading and less time researching. Book of the Month is also risk-free, meaning if you can't find a book that you want to read that month, you can skip free of charge and move on to the next month. Plus, they have the best price for new release hardcover fiction. You can actually get your first book and your first month for just $9.99 with my code DASHOFASH, and I'll have a link in the description down below if you guys want to check it out. So first up, we have The Lincoln Highway by Amor Towles. This is a 1950s set novel where three 18-year-olds who met in a juvenile reformatory plus a brainy 8-year-old set out from Nebraska on the Great American Road Trip. Then we have The Ex-Hex by Aaron Sterling. This is a spine-tingling romance full of wishes, witches, and hexes gone wrong. Third up is Harlem Shuffle by Colson Whitehead, an entertaining novel full of heists, shakedowns, and ripoffs set in Harlem in the 1960s. Then we have Everything We Didn't Say by Nicole Bart. This is a story in which a mother must confront the dark summer that changed her life forever in order to reclaim the daughter she left behind. Finally, we have The Perishing by Natasha Dion, and this is a story in which a black immortal in 1930s Los Angeles must recover the memory of her past in order to save the world. And so in addition to those books, Book of the Month also has a selection of books that you can add on in addition to your October pick if you'd like. They sent me a couple of the options that they have for this month, so I'd love to share them with you. So the first option is The Book of Magic by Alice Hoffman, which is a story that follows a family who is cursed in love. And then the second option that they sent me was Apples Never Fall by Leanne Moriarty, who you might recognize as being the author of Big Little Lies and 9 Perfect Strangers. This is a novel that looks at marriage, siblings, and how the people that we love can hurt us the deepest. So if any of those books sound interesting to you guys this month, you can head to the link in my description down below to check them out. And remember, I do have a code DASHOFASH that you can use to get your first month for just $9.99. So thank you once again to Book of the Month for sponsoring today's video, and without further ado, let's go ahead and get into my end of the year TBR. But first, we need chocolate. So I'm really excited to share this list with you guys. I don't know why, but these books just made me so excited to read, so I'm really excited about that. Let's just go ahead and get into them. First up, I do want to mention a couple of the books that you will have probably already seen in a previous video that hopefully went up before this one. The books that I'm talking about are some upcoming releases that are coming out in November that I'm really excited to get to and are definitely at the top of my TBR this month, or the rest of the year. I won't spend too much time on them because if you did watch that other video, then you will already hear about them, but those books that I'm talking about are Aurora's End by Jay Kristoff and Amy Kaufman. We have A Psalm of Storms and Silence by Roseanne A. Brown, and then we have Cytonic by Brandon Sanderson. All three of these books are either conclusions or sequels to series that I am in the middle of at the moment. All of them are absolutely amazing and you should totally read them, and I'm just really excited for them all. So that's all I'm going to say on those. If you want to learn more, you can go watch my other video, which was upcoming releases that I'm really excited for, like upcoming anticipated releases. Go watch that video. But yeah, that's all I'm going to say here. As for books that I want to read that I already have, let's talk about that. So I really want to finish The Girl Who Drank the Moon by Kelly Barnhill. I'm currently still halfway through. I haven't read any more of it since I filmed my September wrap-up. Like I said in that video, I think this is just going to be like a beautiful story once I manage to finish it, but it's just getting to the finishing part that's been a struggle for me recently. It's about a witch who takes in a young girl and accidentally gives her magic. It's about a town who is ruled by these not so good people who are lying to everybody in order to keep themselves in power. It's about a boy who's questioning everything that's going on in that town, and it's about a story that's a bit bigger and beyond all of that that's kind of playing in the backgrounds that I'm sure will culminate at some point in the story. I just haven't gotten there yet. But yeah, like I mentioned in that September wrap-up, so far I really have enjoyed it. It is a middle grade. I keep forgetting to mention that, but it is middle grade, and it definitely feels that way, but at the same time it feels like there's something bigger coming, so I don't know, but I just really want to finish this book. So next up I have another book that I mentioned at some point recently in a video, and that's going to be The Near Witch by V.E. Schwab. You'll notice a couple of these books that I have here are going to be like kind of witchy, almost spooky books in a way, but I mean that's just what I'm feeling right now, so that's what I'm leaning toward. Like I said in whatever video I talked about this in recently, I don't know what this is about. I don't know what it is. All I can tell is that it's about a girl named Lexi who finds a stranger who shows up on the doorstep of her home one night, and then suddenly the children of Near, which is the town that she lives in, start disappearing, and this mysterious boy falls under suspicion. Honestly, not really sure what's going to happen in this story, but we'll see. The candles smell so good, and I'm just gonna keep eating chocolates, and it just feels like fall, you guys. So the next book that I really want to read actually kind of surprised me when I reached for it and was like, yeah, this actually feels like something that I want to get into right now, because I haven't thought about this book in a really long time. So the book I'm talking about is The Starless Sea by Erin Morgenstern. I used to hear about this book for so long whenever it came out, last year, the year before, I don't even remember, and I bought it because it was getting such rave reviews and everybody who read it was obsessed with it, and yet I never ended up reading it. And for some reason it's just kind of giving me that fall feeling right now, and so I want to pick it up. I want to read it. I know absolutely nothing about it, but I know that people who read it fall in love with it. I see that there's someone named Zachary, and he stumbles upon a book in a library and it leads him on a quest unlike any other. I didn't know that this book was about books, if that makes sense. Like something about books happens in this story. And I have read The Night Circus by Erin Morgenstern and absolutely fell in love with it last year. So I'm really hoping that it's similar to that, where it kind of evokes that same sort of feeling. So this next book is another one that I've been seeing everywhere recently, and everybody's been really, really enjoying it. And it kind of surprised me because it wasn't a book that I've really heard much about up until at this point. So the book that I'm talking about is The Love Hypothesis by Ali Hazelwood. This was actually a book of the month pick last month if you watched my video for that one. And like I said, I hadn't heard anything about this story up until pretty recently when people have started to read it and really, really rave about it. So here I am adding it to my list. This one kind of goes against the feeling of all of the other ones that I have on this list because it is a romance. I believe it's like a fake dating romance, and it has, I don't think, anything to do with like fall or witchiness or anything like that. I mean, The Ex-Hex, which is a book of the month pick for October, definitely does, so honestly might add that to my list after this, but this one I would really like to read. So it's going on this list. We'll see if I end up getting to it or not, but I don't know. Whenever I feel like I need a romance to pick me up and sweep me off my feet, I'll give it a try. So we're gonna go back to those witchy, spooky, scary kind of books, and I'm going to talk about The Witch Haven by Sasha Payton Smith. This was a book that the publisher sent to me and I never posted about it, so sorry. But recently when I was in Barnes & Noble, I noticed that everywhere that they talked about October reads, this book was like literally everywhere. So I was like, okay, interesting. We'll give it a shot. And I did just read the synopsis for the first time, to be honest with you, and it does sound really interesting, even though the cover is super boring. The person who decided that this was going to be the cover for this book, like, it's pretty and it's simplistic, and sometimes I like that, but this just gives nothing away. Like, literally nothing, especially when you read about what it's actually about. The story's set in 1911 New York City. First of all, follow this 17-year-old girl named Frances Hallowell, who is mourning the mysterious death of her brother because she found him dead and her scissors were in his neck and she has no idea how they got there. And then suddenly 2 cape-wearing nurses sweep her off her feet and they're like, you are sick and you need to come with us to the Haven Sanitarium. But then she learns that it's not a sanitarium at all, it's a school for witches. The headmistress is like, magic is dangerous, but then there's a boy who she's enchanted by who says he can teach her all sorts of magic, and then she has to figure out whether she wants justice for her brother, or if she wants to fall in love with this guy, or if she wants to learn magic, or what is happening. It sounds really interesting to me, especially that it's set in 1911. It's kind of like a historical fiction fantasy, and it sounds like it's got some spooky vibes, so I'm here for this. We'll see what happens. But again, I'm not liking this cover. What about this cover says any of what I just said to you? Like, make it spooky, make it creepy. No shade to the cover designer, but also a little bit because I don't get. Time for another chocolate. Ah! We're dropping them everywhere. Final book that I want to talk about, another one that I've mentioned before. It's another sequel slash conclusion to a series I've started. Another spooky book. You can probably guess what it is. It's gonna be Bridge of Souls by Victoria Schwab. This is a middle grade series following Cassidy Blake and her best friend who is a ghost, and she can see ghosts and cross to the other side after a near-death experience. Her parents are sort of ghost hunters of sorts, and they know nothing about this. And they host a TV show where they go to the spookiest, most haunted towns in the world, look at ghosts, and they talk about ghost stories and things. Their daughter is just kind of going off willy-nilly on these adventures with ghosts, and it's really a good time. So each book is set in a different city. The first one I want to say was somewhere in Scotland, Edinburgh maybe, and then the second one was in Paris, and this one is going to be in New Orleans. They can get pretty spooky at times for middle grade stories. Like, they can get kind of like creepy in a way, so I'm really excited to see what is going to happen to this one, especially because I don't really remember any of the first two. I don't remember a lot of the details, so I kind of want to just read this to like remember to finally finish the series off. But yeah, also these covers as compared to the Witch Haven, this gives me a spooky creepy vibe. This I can't get my hand on it. This does not. I'm also like kind of hoping in this story that her parents find out what she's doing and like what has happened to her and that kind of thing. Like, I want them to find out about her. You know, it kind of reminds me of like Danny Phantom. If anybody watched that show on Nickelodeon when they were younger, when like he goes into like the ghost machine or whatever and he becomes a ghost, like he can shift between like ghost and like regular human, and his parents who are like ghost hunters or scientists or whatever, they don't know about it. And it's just, it literally is that, but in like a middle grade girl traveling the world with parents who host a TV show version. And I think that's why I love it so much, because I loved that show growing up. I really did. So yeah, if you too liked Danny Phantom, highly recommend you get on this story. So yeah, you guys, those were all of the books that I have on my list so far. Definitely don't have as many like fantasy stories as I probably am going to end up reading. I don't want to add anything too crazy to this list just because I don't know what I'll be in the mood for later on, and I don't want this to turn into another slump because I feel confined to a list that I have to read. So I'm really just showing you the books that I'm really interested in reading right this second. I'm also looking for a new audiobook to listen to while I'm driving in the car in the mornings, so like if anybody has any recommendations for like a good audiobook, it can be fantasy, it can be romance, it can be whatever, it doesn't matter to me. Drop your recommendations in the comments, please, because I'm really looking for something new. And also, let me know what you guys are planning on reading in October before the end of the year. Is there a book that you really need to get to? Is there a release you're really excited for? Let me know in the comments. But other than all of that, I think that's gonna be it for this video. So thank you guys so much for watching, and I will catch you later. Bye!